Let's get straight into it then, Flex. You were there on Sunday. Man United 0, Liverpool 3. What did you make of what you saw?
I have to say that the music and, you know, all the cuts and the edits there made it sound very more dramatic than it actually is.
Excuse me?
Well,
what are you trying to say?
I don't know. It's just very dramatic. Only 3 games in.
Mate, Ten Hag is fighting to stay alive. I mean, come on. In managerial
it's
sense.
very
dramatic.
Come on. No, but it did add to it.
No, that's the whole point, I think, Flex.
I know, but it was too much.
Sorry, are you a presenter or a producer? If you want to start making the packages
You see this deflection
mate,
that I'm doing here?
100%.
No, listen. Really challenging times very early on in the season. Absolutely. He's under pressure. I think that with some of the things he's saying as well, they're not adding up to what we're seeing on the pitch. Individual errors are still ever present. And the pressure really, really is on. I think what's alarming is when somebody does make a mistake, of course, Casemiro will know all what he did wrong and why he got hooked at half-time, and absolutely rightly so. But the catalogue of errors that happen when somebody makes a mistake, the team just can't recover. The mentality isn't there. And from a tactical perspective, the way that we're set up isn't right. There's been so much criticism for Casemiro, which I understand why.
But Manu did the same thing in the second half,
exactly. And that was an individual error. But even when these guys aren't making individual errors, passing it to the opposite team, they're hung out to dry, mate. Like, there's too many gaps. We're too open. We're too expansive. We don't particularly have players in midfield that are superior technicians on the ball who can keep the ball very well. So we don't dominate like that. The ball's almost like a hot potato. But then how Ten Hag is attempting to build Man United up in attack with almost like a 3-1-6 formation, committing so many forward and leaving sort of one midfielder on an island. Kobbie Mainoo's been run past many times. Casemiro has been run past many times. Bruno Fernandes has been run past. It doesn't matter. Scott McTominay when he was there. It doesn't matter who it is. So for all of the criticism to Casemiro, and rightly so from one part, let's not act like this is just a Casemiro problem. Because it's not. This is a way bigger problem than that.
I don't know if you saw it after the game, or you probably wouldn't because you were travelling, but you might have seen it the morning after. Neville and Carragher had a kind of argument after the game where, you know, Carragher was kind of making the point where, it was obvious they wanted a new manager. They spoke to loads of different people, but they just couldn't kind of find the right one. And that's kind of how Ten Hag still got his job as opposed to them backing him. But Neville was kind of trying to make the point like, oh no, they didn't bottle it. They're backing Ten Hag. And I kind of thought, they're not back. I don't think they are backing Ten Hag. I think it was a case of the fact that it was pretty well documented, that we think they spoke to up to 4 different people, clearly gives the indication that they were looking elsewhere. Now, you can spin it all you want and go, well, they spoke to other people, but came to the conclusion Ten Hag's the right man. I don't think it was that they think Ten Hag's the right man. I just think they thought that there wasn't the right man out there at the moment. The fact that they went to speak to so many people and it took them so long to
They went to explore.
And that basically tells us they're not having Ten Hag.
But I think we knew that.
Is that fair, Flex, though? Am I being harsh?
I'm not gonna just completely change my opinion on this now. This has happened after 3 games. My assessment of that situation was a whole review was conducted because Man United had a terrible season. So we have to ascertain why.
In the league, you did, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. In the league and the Champions League, if you want to add that in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was really, really poor. And I do believe that it's 6 to 1, half a dozen. We'll never truly know the exact thoughts of it, but absolutely they were talking to different managers to find out if they had someone who they perceive was better than Erik Ten Hag. They came to the notion by hook or by crook that there isn't anybody out there at current that they feel is better suited to go into this season. Whether that's because they couldn't afford a specific manager, or it didn't fit, or they don't feel that they would do a better job with Man United in this situation, they've come to the conclusion of, let's allow him the chance to fix this. That's the decision that's made. So I think there's a bit too much emphasis on they didn't really want him anyway, because when you look at the window that Man United have had, they've then proceeded to back him. So they haven't. It's not like they've just kept him in there and just given him a load of players that he doesn't know anything about, or given him a load of players that he didn't ask to sign. It's been a little bit of a mix whereby I think there's some signings that were probably more of an Ineos signing in terms of, you look at Ugarte, you look at Yoro, but then you can clearly see some other signs of people like Mazraoui, probably Joshua Zirkzee, etc. Of course, Delict's played under him already, that Ten Hag would have definitely co-signed. So I don't think it's as simple as saying they just didn't want him and now they're going to have to sack him because they should have got rid of him anyway. I genuinely believe that they want to see him have the chance to change it. He's on trial. Listen, they have an insurance policy. They didn't give Ten Hag a brand new deal of a new contract and many more years and back them. They just extended it. So that to me is saying, well, this is a trial. prove to us this year, in this time, because there's so much change anyway, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You did win an FA Cup. It was absolutely awful in the league. We'll go strong in the market. Get your players fit, because you have told us as well many times that if you know anything about football, I'm using quote here, you don't know anything about football if you can't see that the reason why we're like this is because I don't have my players. Okay, let's get everybody back fit. Let's get some signings in, and then you've got to go and show us something. Now, it's game 3, and it's not looking good. If you come out, at the end of the day, the results is what speaks volumes. If he doesn't get results, all of this back and forth of what any of us think or don't think, the decision will be made. It is that simple. Jim Ratcliffe is not only a Man United fan, but he's a Man United fan with power and money and decisions to make. And there's now people in situ who won't stand for mediocrity. But what they also won't do is panic after 3 games, albeit not great, but panic after 3 games when there's still a lot to play for. There's still time for Ten Hag to turn it round and time for new signings to get calm and change their minds, because also they'll also look bad as well. So I think they're going to stick by it. They're not people who are going to panic. But if it gets to November, mate, October, November, and Man United are losing games back to back and not looking good, a change will be made.
So you think he could be sacked as early as October?
If he continues like this, I say November. If he continues in this vein, not winning games, only one thing can happen.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to happen, by the way.
I know. It sounds crazy saying after 3 games, but it really does. I think I said this to you in the summer and probably stating the obvious, but it felt like he had to get off to a good start to the season.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to silence everything.
Exactly.
And,
he's done the opposite.
Liverpool coming to your own backyard and thumping you was, it's terrible, isn't it? But Flex, I just again, we're only 3 games in, but when I forget about the tactics of Arne Slot, just when I listen to Arne Slot doing his interviews and press conferences, he looks like a man, sounds like a man, and gives off the aura of a man that is the Liverpool manager. And, I think when Graham Potter went to Chelsea, forget about the results on the pitch, obviously important, but people sort of criticise him for not having maybe the persona, the aura, the charisma of being a manager of a big club. Whereas I think Arne Slot has that already, but it's clear to see. Whereas it still feels like into his 3rd season now at Ten Hag, it almost feels like every time he opens his mouth. And I always have a bit of sympathy for foreign managers, because you never quite know if they're sometimes not getting their point across properly. But I thought that exchange with Ian Ladyman, the journalist, was quite extraordinary when basically Erik Ten Hag said, go on then, what are we doing wrong? And Ian Ladyman from the Daily Mail literally reeled off 10 things that United are doing badly. And I'm not being funny, it made Erik Ten Hag look like an absolute idiot, because Ian Ladyman is saying everything that we're all seeing. And Ten Hag had nowhere to go. And it almost just feels like he just doesn't give off the aura or come across like a man that is in control. Is that fair, Flex?
Yeah, Crookie had an altercation with him as well in terms of, he listed off some of the things that Man United need to improve on. Mentality was one of them. And Crookie went, right, I wanted to talk about mentality. You mentioned mentality there. And Erik went, I didn't say mentality. Crookie went, you literally just did. It's not a good look, because it looks like he's crumbling under the pressure. It looks like he's getting rattled by it. It looks like the self-preservation's kicking in. And listen, I'm not going to just tear down someone's character, because people are different. I don't mind if people are different, right? But if you're going to be how Ten Hag is, the results have to back it up. People wouldn't be saying these things if he was winning football matches. It wouldn't care that the way he speaks or the fact that there's a bit of an uninspiring nature. If he was winning football matches, it would not matter. So that just shows you that the two have to go hand in hand. But when you're going to be combative and when you're going to come back at journalists, you better make sense. And I have to admit, as a United fan who wants it to work for Erik Ten Hag, which I really, really do, and I want to get behind him turning it around, it angers me when I see him saying, well, you tell me what you see, and then this is what we all see, and then he says, well, I have a different vision. Come the end of the season, we'll be there for trophies. Like, it's not good enough. It sounds delusional.
I think that's fair. You mentioned the midfield has been a big issue for a long time now. Is the Ugarte signing the one that's got to come in and has got to hit the ground running? That presence in midfield, sniff out danger, get across the midfield, because we know for too long it's been a United team that are just so open and way too easy to get at.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can't expect it. I feel sorry for him now already, because we're already looking at him going, you need to rectify all of this, which isn't going to happen. That's not going to happen. Ugarte isn't going to come in and solve everything. He's not going to be the second homecoming of Christ, is he? He's not going to be able to do that.
He needs to be.
He needs to be. But this is the problem. Already we're saying you know, one single player should come in and sort all Man United's problems. Yes, he does do things that we need better than Casemiro can do in that department in terms of getting about the pitch, putting out fires. He's quicker, he's more aggressive. I get that, but he's still a limited passer. He's the right player, the right fit, but we still can't misprofile him and act like he's going to sort Manchester United's problems. But he does need to hit the ground running. And then Erik Ten Hag proceeds to say, "I'm not Harry Potter. He could take weeks, if not months, to get up to speed."
Eric,
So
you haven't got months to get up to speed, do you?
the quotes just aren't quoting, mate. They're not good.
No,
they're not good.
You'll be happy
And the pressure is on.
You'll be the pressure's very much on. You'll be happy to know that Man United section's over.
Good.
There we go.
And don't ever bring it back to me unless we win.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.